there are two narratives, or let us say there are two ways of looking at the situation. And from the morning we have been listening to magnificent presentations. Now it occurred to me that there are two conceptual frameworks that we are talking about at this moment in time. The first is on a level of the grand narrative, and the second on the contextual one. On a grand narrative, and we have heard brilliant presentation on the historical background this morning of the situation, and also the Israeli strategy. The grand narrative always manifested through strategies, and normally upheld by statesmen, by strategists, by thinkers, and by philosophers. The contextual one generates tactics, and normally practiced by politicians, diplomats, and to a large extent, journalists. I'm a journalist, but I would like actually to concentrate on the grand narrative from a Palestinian point of view now. Now, PLO started on the 28th of May 1964. When PLO was born, 1964, West Bank and Gaza were not occupied. So, initially, the Palestinian Charter gave the mandate to the Palestinian Liberation Organization to liberate the Palestinian land, 1948 territories, from the Israeli occupation. So that was the original Palestinian narrative that started in 1964, and this is the mandate for the PLO. With time, this narrative made major departure from its origin. In 1967, West Bank and Gaza were occupied. In 1974, under heavy pressure from some Arab countries and the international society, the Palestinian National Congress, the 12th one, adopted something called the 10-point program. In the 10-point program, there are two major issues, two major points. First, that we call for a state, a Palestinian state, on any liberated territory. We believe in phased liberation. Number three, we believe that the final destination of our struggle is a secular, democratic state on the historical land of Palestine. Okay. That, 1974, was one of the most important landmarks in the Palestinian struggle. That day, the conflict within the Palestinian fighters, the Palestinian freedom fighters, and the organizations that formed the PLO started, and divisions start to actually drain the resources of the Palestinian struggle. 1979, we had Sadat visiting Jerusalem, and then after that we had Camp David. 1988, again, under very heavy pressure from some regional actors and international society, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, officially adopted the two-state solution, 1988. Why? Because everyone told them, no one is going to support you to liberate the Palestine as you have been calling for. And therefore, 1988, the Palestinian National Congress officially adopted the two-state solution, a state on 1967 territories, living side to side with a state on 1948 land, the historical land of Palestine. That was a total departure from the initial or the grand narrative that started in 1964. Again, another division in the Palestinian society, another fragmentation that hit deep into the struggle and the movement of the Palestinian people. Of course, 1993, Yasser Arafat officially recognized the state of Israel and the Israelis recognized PLO as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. Okay. Now, if you look at this, what is actually the Palestinian grand narrative today? What are we standing for? I'm a Palestinian myself. I know what the Palestinian people stand for. I know what the ordinary citizens of West Bank and Gaza and the Palestinians living inside Israel and the Palestinians in diaspora stands for. That they stand for the narrative of liberating their land, of returning to their land, and of having justice eventually prevail. That has never changed. But what does the Palestinian elite, and I mean by that the Palestinian Authority and the PLO leadership at this moment in time believe? I don't really know. And no one knows. Simply why? Because there's a great departure from the narrative that started in 1964 and then had itself reshaped because of international pressure. So, the tactic in the Palestinian case drove this strategy. In the case of Israel, as we heard this morning, the strategy actually was behind the tactic all the time. And that was the right approach to the Palestinian situation. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Contextually, when we say today we heard that Oslo, in context, was important and it was a great achievement, given the circumstances of the moment. Serious? Really? So, given the circumstances of the moment of today, when Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America and Jared Kushner is the mediator, what kind of concessions we, the Palestinians, should give so we could at least get something from this context? Therefore, there is no hope for any final settlement unless there is a very solid and coherent grand narrative that the Palestinian people and the Palestinian leadership believe in, and they are ready to continue struggling in order to achieve at the end of the day. We heard about South Africa. I was privileged to live in South Africa for 8 years starting from 1994 when Nelson Mandela became a president of the country. And I know that the South African, the ANC charter actually continued to be the grand narrative of the South African struggle until Nelson Mandela became the president of one state, democratic one in South Africa. They did not yield to the pressure, although it was huge as well. And they maintained the unity of the struggle. In our case, we actually gave concessions on the strategic level, on the grand narrative. We divided ourselves, and then eventually we lost the international momentum behind us. And I don't mean by the international momentum the White House or 10 Downing Street. I mean those who are willing, and they were willing, to stand behind us. We lost even great reservoir of international and legal grounds that were accumulating over years. We gave up that for the sake of being accepted by international society, actually for the sake of only photo opportunities, nothing else. Every achievement we had since we departed from our grand narrative until today is a major crisis that hit deep into the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause and divided not only the Palestinians but also the Arabs and the entire communities of people who are supporting the Palestinian issue. Now, Oslo is a disaster. I think no one today defended Oslo. But I would like to defend Oslo. I would like to say Oslo was great for one major reason. It is the concluding scene of a miserable march of political process that started based on deception and based on illegitimate processes and pressures that were practiced on the Palestinian people and psychologically reshaping even their way of dealing with the situation. Oslo is great because it has failed. The failure of Oslo, with it, there is a failure of an era. A failure not only of the two-state solution, which we were not allowed to talk about it in this session, because we were supposed to bury it, someone has to bury it. But anyway, it is actually, again, a failure of a narrative that started a long time ago, and it has reached now its end. You know, Oslo is dead. But unfortunately, the ramifications of Oslo is not. PNA, Palestinian National Authority, came after Oslo and took over the Palestinian, this map that you saw, which I personally have never understood, no one did understand. And because of that, we sacrificed PLO. We concentrated on territories that the Israelis charitably gave us the authority over it, not authority, partial authority, but we also forgot about 6 million Palestinians living in diaspora. What happened so far, demographically, we have lost the unity of the Palestinian people, divided into 3 major entities. Those who are living inside Israel, those who are living in diaspora, and those who are living in West Bank and Gaza. And this fragmentation is continuing to happen. We defend the Palestinian National Authority, but unfortunately, that was a disaster that has stricken deep into the the concept of the Palestinian people. Geographically, of course, you have seen the maps, so we lost on both fronts. Now, how are we going to move forward? First, we need to reclaim, as I said, a coherent narrative on what we would like to do. And I would like to base that not on the necessities of today, the necessities of immediacy, of the context, of the pressure, of the international society demands, on the White House, attitude. Not at all. It should be based on foundations that do not change because of pressure or context. The foundations of equality and justice, and the foundation of ending the occupation, and anything related to it, be it structural or conceptual. When we start there, we are starting a solid process for peace. But if we do not start there, we are continuing this deceptive process, which we call the peace process. It's not going to take us anywhere. The second most important element, we Palestinians should think of any solution that unify the Palestinian people. And I mean by the Palestinian people, those who are living today in 1948 territories, and those who are living in diaspora, and those who are living in West Bank and Gaza. Without that, there will be no solution. Because any of these components, if it is left out from any deal, eventually we are going to have a major problem, and then continuous conflict and continuous fighting. The third one, international law. And the norms of good international human equality that has been established and accepted by nations as basic right for every human being, equality and justice. How these components could be shaped in a form of a solution, it's up to us. We have to think about it. Today, someone mentioned the one-state solution. And then one of the panelists said it is not actually good for the Palestinians to adopt the one-state solution, as if we are enjoying the most magnificent process that yields fruits to us every day because of the two-state solutions. In fact, I personally do believe in one-state solution. I do believe in a civic state that could bring together all those who live on the land of Palestine, 1948 territories and 1967, and those who are willing to become part of a region. And that's important. And I will end with this point. Until when Israel can continue to sustain itself as a military and security castle in a multitude of millions and hundreds of millions of people in a region that has mosaic of cultures and religions, and continue to isolate itself from that environment? Can that be sustainable? Can the Israelis really live life like that while they are trying always to only build walls or trenches, or to kill those who are trying to cross the borders, as happened yesterday? 6 Palestinian civilians were killed in Gaza. You know, all of them were just demanding to go back, to have the right of return. Can Israel morally continue to sustain such an approach? And until when the international society could sustain this double standard dealing and giving Israel this exceptional immunity that it is enjoying so far? Will that change one day? Of course it's going to change one day, as it did in South African experience. Third, to what extent the Israelis can also continue to have this kind of serious approach or serious move towards full-fledged apartheid state, including, legal separation and legal, actually, discrimination against citizens of Israel who are the Arabs, or as we have today, the Arab-speaking people inside Israel. It's not going to work, even for the Israelis on long run. Israel might be winning on a tactical level because they can be cozy to Sisi and to the Saudi government, and they could be friends with some of the Arab dictators here and there. And they could enjoy the support of the White House and Donald Trump and Jared Kushner and so on. And they could also enjoy the superiority in military and security. But given the fact that life is not about standing still and do nothing, that Israel could sustain this status forever. And the day will come when they have to understand that if they would like to remain in this region, they need to be part of this region and need to accept to be part of the cultural and social fabric of these societies, and to become, like everyone who is living in this region for thousands of years, citizens of a region, in the region and of the region, rather than being planted in it and surrounded by walls and surrounded by military defenses. I would like to conclude by saying there is hope in the future because of two major reasons. Number one, the failure of every initiative that the international society and the region has adopted from the beginning of the conflict until today. That failure gives me hope that we are not yet learning. Yes, we are not learning a lot. We need to learn a lot. But because of that, we are going to find one day the right approach to the situation. The second one, the new generation. The new generation, I call them the Homo sapiens 2.0, are different from us. They are much more connected. They are much more value-centered. They do not have the same racial discrimination and the same nationalistic nature that their fathers and grandfathers have. And I hope that the new generation could start think collectively of a solution that enables them to have a peaceful future, to coexist together in one land, and also to have that built on proper foundations of justice and international, consensus on legal issues that all of us have. Refugees can never continue. I mean, some people now, we have war against the Palestinians, I say, 0 minutes. I'm going to say one important thing. Donald Trump thought, brilliantly, that what the Palestinians and the Israelis disagree upon? Two things, Jerusalem and the refugees. I'm getting rid of both. So they should thank me. I mean, really, this is his logic. Yesterday I heard him talking about this issue. Jerusalem now is becoming the capital of Israel. Thank you very much, I resolved it. What are you fighting about? Second, the refugees. No, we canceled the UNRWA, and there is no refugees. Then the issue is over. I have resolved it. Simple logic, but does definitely represent a final episode of long process that has been corrupting the minds and the spirits of this issue. Then, if we have that concept of one-state solution, maybe this is one of the issues, I'm not sure, but definitely it should be one of the issues that we'll examine properly. I know it is not easy, but it is important. I think because of it, we could resolve very important issues, starting from the refugees in Jerusalem, ending with whether actually hummus is a Palestinian dish and falafel is Israeli national snack or not. Thank you very much.